back. Welcome back to my channel. And this is me, Miss Pauline at iBiology. And I am here with an IB student, Jessica. Jessica on the line. Say hello.
Hi. Hi.
Yes. And Jessica is currently in Asia. Would you like to be specific on which country you are from, Jessica?
I came from China, but currently I'm studying in international school in Japan.
Wonderful. All right. So very international, but nevertheless, she is taking IB chemistry in English.
Yes.
And here we are. I am working on her lab draft. So um, with this IA, Jessica, were you provided with revision from your teacher? Were you
The
provided
teacher barely gave me any comments.
just
That's why
yet?
I came to find Miss Pauline for feedbacks.
Or feedback. Okay, wonderful. But it's only a draft. So, yes, so this is before submission, right?
Yes.
So, this is before submission for revision. But I'd like to guide you with how you put together um, your IA
Mhm.
with your research paper and be guided with the internal assessment mark scheme. So it's very, very important, right? So a lot of students, um, so before I assume or make assumptions about your process, um, what were you given? How did you come up with your topic?
So I came up with my topic because
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in soda drinks such as cola and Pepsi. I
Uh
wanted to
huh.
know how sugar concentration affects the CO2 level. As I realized how the soda drinks are, they taste the best when it's cold and it has a lot of
Ah,
bubbles in it.
splendid. Okay, so carbonated drinks. All right. So,
Yes.
is there any connection with your prescribed practicals, or have you done any lab work pertaining to this topic?
Yes, as my research question is based on acid and base titration. The reason why I picked
Ah,
titration as my method is because it was one of the most frequently used method that we practice during our chemistry classes.
oh, cool. Okay, so you've done that. So you're very lucky because honestly, there are also some schools who don't really use, although it is a prescribed practical, sometimes reagents can be limiting. So they teach it, but really the experience of titration is pretty cool, right? So for people like, did you use sodium hydroxide
Yes,
or potassium permanganate? Because either two,
we use
and
sodium
then
hydroxide.
right, and then once there's titration, it will change color, right? Potassium permanganate
Yes,
provides like I think a subtle. It should be subtle hue, purple. Otherwise, if you have too much, it's pink.
yes,
Is it the same as yours? So something like
yes.
that, right? So it's cool to see, it's cool to experience, and then you're applying that with carbonated drinks. So splendid. That's a good application. So um now give me what's like your real research work. Have you seen um, some IA samples online about this topic, or this is something? How did you get this topic?
Topic,
Yes.
to be honest, I cannot
Uh-huh.
really find any similar works online, even
Uh-huh.
through the past IA examples or classified.
Classic.
So
Yeah.
this is like a original topic that I
Oh,
created.
right. But also, I have researched your topic. So it's good because it's applicable. So, one thing that's good with your IA is that it's an application of a practical that you have done in
Yes.
class. And I have also seen some scientific articles about sugar,
Mm.
carbonated sugar and things. Basically, what we're trying to establish here is um, that the topic, although it is not novel, you can find work. So to our listeners and our viewers, like, it's good to have scientific background when you when you find a an inspiration online. Okay,
Yes.
so again, it's allowed. You're actually allowed to use Classify. There's tons of resources there. Some of them are not free, so some students may even like have a subscription, and you're not limited to that. And sometimes even teachers provide like 30 to 60 kind of samples, right? So what is important here with your IA is it's doable, and it is within 10 hours of lab work.
Yes.
Okay, and also that your reagents and your samples should be available, so you don't really spend lots of money having it imported, you know. So I'm glad that you had all of this accessible to you, and you have a lab to work with at school. Yeah,
Yes.
so blended. Okay, so before we start, so one thing that some students um, kind of fail to do is that when they reach out and find online some kind of inspiration or an IA, they forget to refer to the mark scheme. So, are you familiar with the mark scheme? How are you going to be graded for the IA?
Yes, I'm also one of the students who struggle with the mark scheme.
Right. Okay. So let's go over it. Okay. So the mark
Yes.
scheme, this since you will take the exams in 2026, right?
Yes.
So we had a here we go, an updated, right? So an
Mm,
updated group for internal assessment score sheet. So the total number of scores that you could obtain is 24. So that's the highest score. So from
mhm.
20 to 24, that will have a grade of 7. 17 to 16 is about 6. 14 to 16 is about 5. And anything less than 14 is either 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So
Okay.
now that you know these IB scores, could you tell me so that I can gauge how how eager we are in this revision? What grade are you um, reaching out for? What do you aim for?
I am for a 7.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Good.
Yes.
So seven is 20 to 24. That means that you can be 4 marks or 4 points lower, right?
Yes.
But what does that mean? What does that mean to have a 24? Okay. So the let's go over the mark scheme. Okay. So there are
Okay.
four. All right. Four sections
Mhm.
of the IA. So there's the
Okay.
research design, data analysis, conclusion, and evaluation. Each one
Yes.
is 6 marks. Back then, it has communication, and I think there's another one. I forget the title, but I think personal engagement. But now we
Mhm.
don't have that anymore. So it's integrated. It's still the same, but integrated to the mark scheme. But nevertheless, even from the previous years, it's still 24 marks. Okay. So let's go over the mark scheme first. All right. Ooh, I can hear your puppy.
Yes.
All right. So for research design, so research design is from the research question from the beginning until the methodology.
Okay.
Okay. So when you write the steps, your procedure, until your, what do you call that? Your risk assessment, where you put the safety, environmental, and what's the other one? Safety, environmental, and um,
Safety, environmental, and lastly, it's ethical.
correct, ethical issues, right? So until
Yes.
then, all right, it's only worth 6 marks.
Mm.
Okay, so the pitfall of students, another limitation of the IA is that the IA should only be consisting of 3,000 words. All right, so 3,000 words with 12 as your font size, and either Arial times New Roman, simple, very simple fonts. It
Yes.
should constitute to more or less 12, okay? 12 pages, including your methodology. Oh, sorry, not
Okay.
methodology, I mean citation, okay?
Including
So,
citation?
correct. So,
Oh,
more or less, that would be about 12 pages. The
okay.
problem is some students would put, for example, a page, uh, like a title page. You don't really need a title page in the IA. It's only applicable to the EE. So in the IA, actually, we prefer that it's the research question and the rest.
Okay.
Okay, there's no fluff. I think that page is just a fluff.
Mm,
So with words and all, so that would be more or less, again, more or less 12. Some teachers would debate because I think 2 years ago there was a limit of 12 pages.
yes.
This time, I believe, again, it depends on your DP coordinator. The DP coordinator will then notify the teachers if your IA should be 12 or 3,000 words. But just to be on the safe side, it should no be more than 12. Maybe one less, one more. Okay.
Okay.
So any other thing on your IA, like extra tables, you don't need 5 tables, 10 tables for raw data. These things like that.
Okay.
Or put bajillions of pictures in your IA. You're wasting space. Yeah. So there's an I'm not saying don't put it, but I'm saying put it in the appendix
Okay.
so that anything after the 12 page, all of that are your appendages. So the appendix is more of like substantial evidence for your IA.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go over what constitutes a six, a five or six, or perfect marks for your IA in order for you to obtain the maximum score. All right. So there should be a research question context. The context of your RQ should describe within a specific and appropriate context. That's why I have asked you a while ago if this IA is within your lab practical. This is inspired by a lab, or you have enough citations for this, is because I want to ensure that this is appropriate in context.
Okay.
Okay. So you are not using animals because that's not allowed in the IB,
Yes.
right? You're not using dangerous. Okay. So sugar is not necessarily dangerous because you're not consuming it,
Yes.
right? So you're just observing a chemical reaction. So these kinds of things, so that's for your research context. And later on, we will review the checklist of what it also means.
Okay.
Another here is the method. You are considering the methodology, your protocols, and your procedures. Okay,
Okay.
so the methodological considerations are associated with collecting relevant and sufficient data to answer research questions. And they are explained. Explain why this is appropriate. Okay, so let me put that into context so that you could um, have make sense of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you said that you are doing titration.
Yes.
Do you have the lab materials to do so?
We do.
Good. So you know how to set it up,
Yes.
right? You have proper reagents.
Proper
Yeah.
reagent.
Yeah. So that you said that you use sodium hydroxide.
Yes.
Okay. It's available. It's widely available. Okay. So these things, you're not using dangerous things. You're not doing flammable things. And the amount of things that you used are just enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the appropriateness has been looked into,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be able to explain why the method is appropriate to the research. Okay,
Okay.
on the within this section, the first quarter of your IA. So let's do some basic math. So if they say we have 12 pages and you
Mm-hmm.
have four, right? You have four sections. How much how much pages do you think you will allot for 6 marks?
If we have 24 marks as a maximum, divided by
Yeah,
4.
correct. So 12 divided by 4?
6. Right? 3. So 3 pages.
So 3. Okay. So about 3 pages of your work should be in the
Yes.
methodology.
Yes.
Sure. All right. 3. Because just to give you an idea, right? Just to give you
Mm.
an idea that now let's just go back. The bulk of your the bulk of your grade, where would it come from?
It's coming from data analysis.
Well, data analysis on its own, data analysis from raw to process data is 6 marks, right? So it's
Mm.
about the same, right? So it's about the same of your research design. So that's about 3 pages as well, right?
Mm.
But take a look. Conclusion, conclusion on its own, it's only 6 marks.
Yes.
Yeah, just the
Mm.
conclusion. The evaluation as well. So evaluation, as you evaluate your work, that's also 6 marks. So
Okay.
conclusion evaluation is already 12 marks, right? So
Okay.
that's where you want to put all the explanation, all like the evaluations you should put over there,
Okay.
right? So, yeah, so just to put that in context. So, the research design should not go over 3 pages because you want to save up the good part of your IA to the conclusion and evaluation, because that's where you will earn the best marks, the most
Okay.
marks. Okay?
Yes.
Splendid. All right. So again, so the method, the description of the methodology of collecting and selecting the data for the investigation, and it has to be reproducible. Okay? So
Mm.
the procedure must be written in such a way that it can be done. Like if I were reading it, I can also do it.
Okay.
Okay, that constitutes to a 5 to 6 marks. All right. So the research question, let's go over just quickly. The research question is clearly stated and precisely formulated at the beginning of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, it's not biology, but because I've done this for biology, but this is focused on chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It can be physics, biochemistry, and physics follow the same mark scheme.
Okay.
Okay. What else? The research question includes clear and specific manipulated and responding variables. So your IV, independent and dependent variable must be clearly stated in the research question, and they are correlated.
Mm.
Okay, so you should be able to establish that. And the research question includes the scientific name of the organism if relevant. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, we will go over your IA in a bit and see if this is relevant. All right. So description of the system. Okay. Relevance of the research question is clear. Why do you think that this is something that um, you would like to investigate? Okay. Appropriate, accurate, and relevant background of science and the phenomenon. Context includes scientific name if relevant. Context includes appropriate, accurate, relevant information about the variables being investigated. And of course, it would also be great to see citations, but it has to
Okay.
be relevant. Okay, relevant
Mm.
citations, because you don't want to put one thing that I've been seeing in a lot of students as well, like what is sugar from a YouTube video, right? So that's not a good citation. I mean, yes, but um, if it's not about methods, if this is not about a scientific or peer-reviewed um, source of information, we can set that aside for later. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then the theory, as you can say, that you should be able to basically um, establish that this is within the realms of chemistry. Okay.
Mm.
All right. And then the methodological consideration, your selected method. So, out of the, I believe it's seven, out of the seven prescribed practicals, why did you choose titration? Okay. So the
Mm.
methods of measuring the variables are justified if relevant, and the selection of the database are also justified.
Okay.
Okay. Collecting relevant data. So do you have enough independent variable to observe a certain like trend, right? So usually
Yes.
it's five, right? Usually it's five so that you can see a progression. So if we increase or decrease the dependent variable, what would be the observable difference? And do you see anything? So this is what you would like to establish in your method.
Okay.
Okay. Is it quantifiable? Did you use instruments that you can measure? Right? This is not only about change of color and everything, but can you actually make measurements? Um, the important control variables are identified. Potential impact of each is discussed. Okay, so for example, if you use time, did you how did you what are the measurements for you to check how long the reaction has been taking? Did you use what did you use? Did you use a timer? Did you use
I used a timer while I was doing the experiment.
so do you have you had digital timers?
Yes.
Were they specified in the materials list?
I believe so.
Okay, we will check later. So these are the things that I'd like to check with you.
Okay.
Okay. So justification of explanation of a positive or negative control group. So in your hypothesis, for example, were these specified? Okay. And validity of measurements are ensured so that you could see, like for example, there are students who would think that a 20% jump. So, for example, from 0 to 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100% concentration. What do
Yes.
you think about that? What do you think?
I think the difference is too big so that you cannot really see the subtle differences.
Yeah, right? So you don't really see
Yeah.
it. There's most likely a difference, but
Yeah.
that's too big. So yeah, you'd like to establish in your method, like why is it I am doing a zero point 0.5, or why am I doing a 1% interval?
Mm.
Okay, to collect relevant data.
Okay.
All right. And then, of course, collecting sufficient data afterwards. How could you ensure us that you are collecting data accurately, and safety, ethics, and environmental issues, or what we call it risk assessment,
Okay.
right? So you have that. So make sure that there is an adherence to the IBO animal experimental policy if it's relevant. You can also say that it does not violate any environmental issue.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's description and justification used to minimize the impact of the investigation on field site. We didn't really do field, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. Description of the methodology. Okay. There is a list of photograph or of apparatus and materials in the investigation. Did you do that? But
I
if
didn't
not,
take picture of everything.
but that's okay. All right, that's okay. You
Okay.
don't really need to take pictures of everything. What is important is that you take in what you believe is relevant to the investigation.
Okay.
Okay, so there is clear description of preliminary trials. If I remember correctly, you actually did change the measure. If you change anything, there is a detail on why you changed it. The method used to measuring and responding is full, clear, and detailed. What are the tools? What are the units? What are the uncertainty?
Okay.
Okay. The collection of data with other students, it's not really applicable because you did it on your own. The method used to maintain and measure control variables is full, clear, and detailed.
Mm,
Okay. There's detailed description of what measures were used to ensure experimental measurements are valid and consistent. Okay. And
mm.
also if you have copied, so again, if you copy a protocol from a different test, that's allowed as long as you cite it.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, just for example, I found online um, an IA that used acid on the effects of seeds, right? And
Mm,
this student used mung beans. What if I will use a different kind of bean, but I will use the same lab method? That's allowed as long as I
okay.
cite the student's work.
Okay.
Okay? There are captioned photographs, yes, for references. All right, so here you go, data analysis, because data analysis on its own is 6 marks.
Okay.
Okay, so what does it mean to have a 5 or 6 marks? All right, clear and precise communication. It's clear and precise. All right. Also, in communication, is this is also where we look over your grammar, your you know that your IA should be written in past tense.
Yes.
Okay, so the consistency that you have written in past tense and things like that. Okay, you are not um, you are not uh, you're not being redundant.
Okay.
Okay, so these kinds of things, that's why I'm saying if it's if you could write it in 12 pages, that's better. Okay,
Yes.
3,000 words.
Mm,
And if you ever put pictures or tables, they have to be relevant, not
okay.
overly done. Okay, if you are seeing your page numbers like 24 pages, you're overdoing it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why appendix is great for anything that you believe will support your IA. Okay. Next, clear communication. Another is consideration of uncertainty, especially in chemistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because chemistry is all about precision to the milligram, to the last milligram. So you should be able to make sure that um, you have evidence. All right. So you have evidence of calculating uncertainty to the measuring tools that you use.
Okay.
Okay. Concentration. The concentration of your reagent should also. Are you using 1 mole, 2 moles, 6 moles of reagent? Was that shown in any of your work? So we will look into it later. All right.
Okay.
Appropriate, appropriate and accurate data processing. All right. The processing of data relevant to addressing the research question is carried out appropriately and accurately. So remember that you don't have to use five types of processed data. One very good one is actually the best.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, if your data is continuous, what would be a good kind um, graph will you use?
Line graph.
Line graph. If you want to show a error bars, what would you what would you include in your graph?
Error bar.
Yeah, error bars, right? So those are
Yeah.
the things that we want to see. Okay, so we want to see lines. Are these lines? Are these um, lines explained well?
Okay.
Does it actually make sense? So these kinds of things. This is what we're looking for. Okay. Clear communication, narrative references, figures, and tables are all making sense. Okay, raw data is clearly presented for the range of levels, but not all. Data to show consistency of control variables is clearly presented. Okay, tables and graphs do not break across pages. Okay, so these
Oh.
can so yes. So if it shows some sort, that's why I said less is more, right? Because
Mm.
if you put um five tables and then one is like breaking everything, it's gonna make confusion. So better to have it concisely. Okay.
Okay.
Statistical tests include null and alternative hypothesis and probability levels or p-values. Okay, so there's inferential analysis and descriptive analysis, clear explanation with justification of the type of graph and use of trend lines. We talked about that previously, and all data and images are relevant to the research question. All right, so this is how we mark preciseness of data.
Okay.
Consideration of uncertainty, especially in chemistry, you should write or you should add like a not only the formula but a sample calculation.
Okay.
Okay, uncertainty of measurements indicated in the column header of the data, discussion of the size measurements compared to the collected data, etc. Okay, and the variation within the data is also described or presented. So
Okay.
I see that you also calculated the skew, right? What is the
Yes.
relevance of the skew and the standard deviation? How does that making sense, or how is that relevant to the data that you're showing? So how you explain it, I will look into that later. All right,
Okay.
and visualized as error bars. So remember in your graph, you told me a while ago about error graphs. Cool. All
Yes.
right. Um, Appropriate data processing. All right. So per calculation, um, we'll get that in a bit, and then let's go over the conclusion. Again, the conclusion and evaluation is different. What is a conclusion? A conclusion is justified that is relevant to the research question and fully consistent with the analysis presented. So the conclusion must be based on the data you have collected and processed.
Okay.
Okay? Another is that a conclusion is justified through relevant comparison to the accepted data context. Were you able to see any consistent or relevant studies connected to your results?
Okay.
Okay, so a comparison of that in either different research or something. So a citation in the conclusion part is wonderful. Okay, so let's see
Okay.
the conclusion statement. State the most important outcome of the investigation. It refers back to the research question. So you go back to the research question. So your research question is what is the effect? So then you will explain it. The
Okay.
conclusion avoids being too definitive or over generous, or this proves, my investigation proves that I am right. Avoid it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Because we don't want to jump into conclusions, but we are concluding based on the data of, or that data we have collected. Okay?
Yes.
So that's that. uh, Evidence from published materials is utilized for comparison.
Okay.
Okay, so did you read it somewhere that you're expecting this or something like that? Comparison with published data and theoretical text, maybe? Okay,
Mm,
so that. And you also explained the results described. Now, what is the difference between conclusion and evaluation? Because there's some confusions by it.
okay.
Okay, so when we evaluate, what do we evaluate?
We evaluate our weakness and improvements
Of your,
of my experiment.
exactly. Okay, so the evaluation is based on your lab, not the evaluation of the world or the text or whatever, but how to improve your procedure.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah. So for a 5 and 6, report explains the relative impact and scientific weakness or limitation. Relative impact of specific methodological weakness. Okay. So not all weaknesses are impactful. All right.
Not all weaknesses are impactful.
Impactful. All
Mm,
right. So for example, in your case, in your case, you're using sugar, right?
yes.
Um, if there's you went up to 0.0002, is that impactful?
Not
Like,
that impactful.
yeah, not necessarily impactful. So you want to look into what is impactful. So for example, you use tap water instead of distilled water. Will that be impactful?
That might be impactful.
It might, yeah. It may be impactful, right? Especially if you
Yes.
are in a country or another place where the source of water may not be as clean as Japan.
Yes.
So there will be different kind of contaminants. So
Mm,
that is impactful, right? For example, you are working with a different student in another table. Is that impactful?
working with another student
Yeah,
in another table?
yeah. Is that impactful? Will that
N-
impact your work?
Not really.
Yeah, right? So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily, not all weaknesses are impactful. So,
Mm,
because I'm talking about sterilization, right? So if you're working with a bacteria, it is impactful. In biology, it is very impactful.
yes.
So you should be able to, you should be, I mean, I'm thinking at it, of this in the biology, context, right? Because it's not as impactful in biology. So if you are working with another student in a different table, it may be impactful, especially if you're using bacteria, right?
Yes.
But it's a limitation. Maybe you're just running out of time, but you really need to work. So, so this student has to work in a very limited space. And then later, with his or her results, there are molds or other microorganisms that he or she did not expect,
Mm,
right? So that is impactful. This is impactful to my work. So,
yes.
right? So that is the kind of thing that we need to consider. Okay.
Okay.
So, impact of the number of level of manipulation, Maybe you need one more level of manipulation. Maybe you need to change the sample size. All right. Maybe there's something strange with the procedure that you notice. Maybe that there's why is there an outlier? Is the outlier impactful? If yes, then why? What do you think would be suggested? Okay,
Okay.
so that's what we're looking for in the evaluation part. And the improvement part, okay, so it has to be realistic, all right, relevant to the
Mm,
identified weaknesses, and relevant to the realistic improvements to the investigation that are relevant to the identified weaknesses, limitations, and they are explained. So that's why I am keen towards writing it on the table,
mhm.
because some kids would tell a lot about their weaknesses and then they forget to add how to improve them.
Okay.
So if it's written on a table, then you will be more organized and you will definitely have uh, an improvement based on the weakness that how do I say, that you have identified. All right. Okay. So
Okay.
that's that. That's what we need to think of. And I think I sent you a I'm gonna stop sharing for now. All right. So I have here um oh yeah, I'm gonna stop recording for now.
Okay.